Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Wang Zhizi, who is the Dean of the School of International Studies of Peking University, and he's also a member of the advisory committee to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of China. Welcome to the France 24 interview. There's been a lot of interest recently in the Western world about the new Chinese leader, Xi Jinping. He became the Secretary General of the Communist Party in November. He's going to become the President of China, and everybody's asking, who is Xi Jinping? Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit.
Xi Jinping is just the #1 leader in the Communist Party. And he was newly elected, and he is expected to be the head of the state or the president of China. And I think the general impression is he is a very likable and personable leader. He often talks without a script. And he is quite entertaining to not only foreign leaders, but also foreign correspondents. So people have very high expectations of him and his team.
Is he very different from Hu Jintao, his predecessor?
Well, the style is somewhat different, but I think the essence of his policy is a continuation of the traditional party line.
Right. When you say he doesn't like scripted remarks and so on, does this mean that there could be a more liberal attitude when it comes to politics, or is it reading too much?
Not necessarily more liberal in the sense of being westernized or having some more ideas about freedom of speech and so on and so forth. I think he is a pragmatic person. He grew up being a so-called educated youth. He worked in the countryside for a long time, so he has a strong attachment to the ordinary people. And he is determined to fight official corruption and brings. He wants to bring the party into line with the party discipline and so on and so forth. He's somewhat more resolute. He's seen as more determinant, but that does not necessarily mean a liberal person.
Right. So those who say he might be a Chinese Gorbachev might be hoping too much.
No. Certainly he is not going to be a Chinese Gorbachev.
On the issue of corruption, there have been lots of scandal. An important member of the party, Bo Xilai, and this keeps coming back. Do you think that the new leader understands that this is a critical issue for him to address?
They realize very well this is a very critical issue. But the problem is whether this is simply a question of discipline or a larger question of a deep-rooted problem within the political system. Even if they know this is the latter, it is very difficult to change the whole institution. So I think fighting corruption is a very long-term task of the party. It's not just a one-stroke solution.
But do you think the people in China are awaiting to see major political players also being held responsible for what they're doing? Because there's been a lot of questioning about whether some people are more protected than others when it comes to corruption, especially in the political leadership.
I mean, there are many debates within the intelligentsia about what the root causes are. But I think as long as the political structure remains basically the same, I think the problem cannot be solved in the short run. So some people are expecting some fundamental changes, but others want to go back to the Mao Zedong era. And there are a lot of debates in China about how to fight corruption.
Okay, I want to get to foreign policy. How do you see his foreign policy shaping up? Will it be more aggressive towards the West? How do you read him in that regard?
Well, I think one of his ideas is to promote the idea of Chinese national unification and national unity, and restoration of the glorious past. So there is a strong element of nationalism or patriotism, and that is a very thing we have to remember to keep in mind in observing Chinese foreign policy. So I think the leadership will continue to be very pragmatic, to be very practical, and they advocate world peace and prosperity, and they say China will keep the ongoing the road toward peaceful development or peaceful rise. But in practice, I think there is somewhat more assertiveness in dealing with maritime security issues, in dealing with some issues related to China's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Right, so you're expecting maybe more confrontational,
not confrontational,
on the South China Sea, on Taiwan, or on issues like that?
More principled, as I say it. I mean, it is very difficult to make a major compromise on those sovereignty issues. And because people in China say that we are growing into a great power, we are even greater than before, and we are stronger than Japan and most of the neighbors, why do we have to be so timid or to be so coward toward those issues? We should even have the guts to fight the United States. That's a public opinion. So the leadership has to listen to the public opinion.
Right. I want to get to the China-U.S. relations. You co-authored an interesting monograph a few months ago, and the title is interesting. It says, addressing, I should say, U.S.-China strategic distrust. The important word is distrust, and you're saying that we might be going towards a confrontation, if not a war, between China and the United States. Can you explain to us?
Certainly, that is one possibility. But confrontation is not in neither the interest of China nor in the interest of the United States. So the two leaderships will try very hard to avoid confrontation. But they also have to manage the specific issues, like the territorial disputes, like U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. On the Chinese side, we also have to deal with Japan very carefully, because Japan is, after all, a U.S. security ally. And we also have to prevent a major crisis on the Korean Peninsula. So it is likely that the distrust will be even deepened. Without mutual trust, how to manage the relationship is a very challenging issue.
So basically you're saying China feels that it's becoming a world power and shouldn't really be submissive to the United States, and the United States are in turn worried and are trying to make sure to keep China down. Is this what you're describing?
Well, this is one view, but I don't buy this view necessarily, because there are a lot of different approaches to seeing international relations. If you look at power relations between the two states, number one, number two, who is up, who is down, then you are going to see some kind of more friction or even confrontation. But if you look at the economic side of the bilateral relationship, the two countries are increasingly interdependent. And we have a lot of economic interest in the United States, and they have a lot of investment and trade with China. So we have to deal with the situation from that prism, or from that perspective as well. And there are also very interesting phenomenon in the relationship, in which we see more and more personal exchanges. Like my students going to the United States, we accept more American students in China. Science technology cooperation is going on very well.
But don't you think that within China, within the leadership that you know well, there are some tendencies maybe within the military to try to go after the United States, tell them, you know, this is finished. This period of China keeping calm, keeping down is not what should be done right now?
This is a very fundamental question. That is whether the two militaries can avoid confrontation. I don't think the two economies will go to confrontation, but we have to deal with the situation very carefully because the military of China is very suspicious of US intentions. They see intensified surveillance activities by the United States toward China in China's surroundings. And so they are worried. So they have to do something. And you know, we are building up the first aircraft carrier and so on and so forth. So the two militaries will have to talk to each other, to know each other more about their long-term intentions and their military preparations.
Right, and so the last question to come back to the beginning, Xi Jinping, you think it will be able to navigate those tensions successfully?
I think Xi Jinping, along with some other leaders, will be more effective in coordinating different government agencies and military in dealing with China's foreign relations. You know, military and maritime security apparatus and economics agencies and so on and so forth. They have to cooperate with each other and coordinate with each other in dealing with the common threats, common challenges from abroad.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wang Jizi, for coming to the France 24 interview, and thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more news.